space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the USS Adequate, our ongoing mission until we are cancelled and replaced with something far more superior, to review every Star Trek episode and movie in existence, to seek out new guests and make them very uncomfortable, to boldly go where many other YouTube channels have clearly gone before. Hello everybody and welcome to this week's episode of Star Trekking with Nerdy Up North. I am your host, Captain Goodwill of the USS Adequate, and joining me as ever is my wonderful co-host, Science Officer Synoiz. And this week we are joined by a very special guest, Baron LaVey. Hello, Baron. Absolute
Hello.
Perfect costume, by the way.
I mean, the way I look, I'm sorry.
How are you?
I'm living life and looking forward to talking about my favourite captain.
Oh, Cisco.
we're gonna have to calm down. Do I have to separate you two already?
Of course, you are here to talk about Janeway.
I did. As soon as we got, I said in my head, as soon as we get a good Janeway /7 of 9 episode, I was like, Baron, we have to get Baron as a guest. Fuck whoever you're thinking about, Goodwill. We're getting Baron.
How are you, Synoiz, this week?
I'm good. It's been one of those ones where I was like, oh, it's a nice simple weekend. Oh, but this, and then it kind of piled up a little bit. But it's been quite good. Me and Baron had a barbecue on Monday, which was quite nice. It was.
I can't believe it's Friday again. It feels only like yesterday that we did the last episode, which is kind of worrying that everything is starting to amalgamate into one huge blur.
At least it's a blur of Trek, though. At least it's an enjoyable blur of Trek.
It is. I would like to say good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever the hell it is in your time zone, to the chat. We've got Lee Davis, we've got Christopher, we've got Beth, we've got the wonderful Sammy from Monsters Up North. We have got, as ever, our cult leader, Paul. Nanu, all hail the greatest leader. All hail. We are not worthy. Apparently, you liked the intro, did you? Well, it's staying, so get used to it. We've got Adam in the chat who composed the beautiful cover of Star Trek Voyager's theme. Hi, Adam. Hope you are well. Let me just see, who else have we got? We've got the lovely Donna in the chat, and we've got Peaches. Hi, everybody. I hope you're well. If you are new to our show, please say hi in the chat. Don't forget to give us a like, give us a comment when this is done, and please subscribe as well. Every little helps. We are the Tesco of nerdy channels. Every little helps. Welcome.
Please, sir, can I have some more subscriptions, please? It's just Paul coming out with a little bowl, being
please,
like,
sir.
Alms.
May I have one more sub, sir?
No. One more sub. Well, that's a different matter.
You may have a dom and be glad of it.
To be fair, Christopher in the chat is saying that he has Dominoes, and I'm just like, you bastard.
Ooh, Dominoes.
At least if you've got Dominoes, just rub a slice against the screen or the webcam or something, and then I'll get a little...
Either in.
Yeah, I'll breathe it in through the magic of technology.
Breaking news. Paul has said I'm sacked. So, this is what I really think. No. That's behind me. I don't know if you've noticed, I've got the shelf of mild destitution with this week's ships. We do have the lovely Voyager. Very tiny little Voyager.
Mini Voyager.
Mini Voyager. And we do have the Borg Cube because we are talking again about the Borg in this week's...
I have to say, this is weird, this episode, because Voyager added so much nuance to the Borg, but this is the episode where they literally have the full gamut of basically Borg Lego. Where, we're used to only getting cubes in TNG, and then in this one they've got, they've got a Borg Snickers bar or an oblong or whatever the fuck that is at the beginning. They've got they've got the sphere, they've got a cube, they've probably got a hexagon somewhere, and you're just going, okay, right, cool. When did the Borg get created?
Look, they have a geometry fetish. Get used to it. Stop shaming.
To be fair, do you reckon they just sort of assimilated Pythagoras or something, or a race of architects, and they were like, oh, actually... aerodynamic. Okay, let's give it a go.
The architectrons of geometry 8. The architectrons. Species 3.14. Get that?
It's like species 1. Oh, Oh, that's surprising.
Species.
Also, before we get into this, how do the Borg name things? Because it's one of these things, because you can usually explain all of this stuff, Goodwill, because you explain the stuff about how the star dates and stuff work. But where it goes, species 452 in the Alpha Quadrant, and then you have someone in the Delta Quadrant who's like species 7,000, and you're like, did you just miss them? Is that like, did you just...
They are like a mother in a supermarket. They don't have one clear route. They zigzag between the aisles because they want to have a look at the best offers. Okay?
That is a perfect fucking answer.
Thank you. It's not the right one.
I was like that earlier. I was like, maybe if I stopped for 5 minutes and like thought about where things would be. No. Let's just wander around aimlessly.
No. So, yes, guys, let's dive right into it, shall we? With Star Trek Voyager Season 5, Episode 15-16, Dark Frontier, Parts 1 and 2, or just Part 1, if you were in certain countries. This is episode 556 out of 853 thus far.
That's crazy. That's 883,
sorry, 883,
Yeah.
Thus far. That is insane in the membrane, because we are going to be doing this for the rest of our lives. At this rate, because they will not stop producing more Star Trek, which is good, but not good for us, because we will never sleep.
And the fact is, because we're going to be reviewing Strange New Worlds episode by episode when the new series comes out, that means we've got like 10 weeks where we're not even doing it, so we're never going to get through all of it.
Oh, of course not.
I'll have lost my hair by the time we get finished. Oh God!
So anyway, so this is a production-wise. This is a weird episode, because this was a mid-season feature-length episode. It was not a cliffhanger or anything like that. It was just the guys just went, "Hi, let's just do a 2-hour."
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, 'cause I was wondering how it was when I was watching it on Netflix. I was like, oh, there's no easy cut. Like, there's no sort of, that's the dramatic end to the episode, like, to be continued. And they just sort of put it together. And I was like, oh, so yeah, that's crazy that they just went, oh, go on, we'll have a film.
Yeah, so it was a feature-length episode where some territories did divide it up. Sky famously did... they broadcast it as a 2-part format, but aired it the same night back to back.
I think I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and the announcer was like, "Oh, we've lost the extra tape. Oh no, wait, we found it. Here's part 2." And we're like, "Oh, Sky, you greedy
japes,
you greedy buffoons." So this was a mid-season feature-length episode, featuring everyone's favourite enemy, the Borg. So it's a really good opening for this episode, because the Hive Mind detects a vessel at grid 424. What was it? Detects a vessel where is it? Space, yes. Grid 116. I've got all these notes, guys. Please forgive me. They're all over the place. So many numbers, and I'm dyslexic with numbers. So a Borg probe, which is the first and only time we do see a Borg probe, which is the rectangular vessel.
As I said, it's a Snickers bar. It's basically this like space Snickers just floating around.
So are all the Borg drones nuts?
Well, I'd say so. Like if Hugh's anything to go by.
So what's the gooey caramel?
That's the Queen. Alice Krieg and her gooey center.
That's not Alice Krieg in this episode.
It's not.
Susanna Thompson. I think Susanna Thompson. But yeah, so the Borg probe detects Voyager. They say surrender. Janeway is just like, yeah, nah. Beams a torpedo and just blows the fuckers in half.
Good, Baron, you've got to admit this scene is absolutely incredible for this. Just Janeway being a badass. Like, can you imagine any of the other captains being like, "Oh, we'll just teleport a torpedo onto the ship. That's fine."
And she has that iconic moment where she says, "I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm feeling lucky today." And I'm like, "Correct way to start that."
Such. I don't give a fuck attitude to the greatest enemy of the Federation.
I love the idea though that this is, this is kind of late on in Voyager. Like it's past the halfway point. We've got like 7 of 9 in it and stuff. But
Yeah.
I genuinely love the idea that like Janeway's had this progression where she starts off being sort of, oh yeah, we couldn't possibly take the easy route back to the Alpha Quadrant because it doesn't follow protocol. And then in this episode, she's like, this is no time for protocol. And you're like, what? Okay, like
Prime Directive.
She's just given up by this point. She's gone through the year of hell, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
And she's just like, fuck it.
She's very loosey-goosey with this because obviously they are trying to salvage, or they are trying to find a transwarp conduit.
Coil.
Sorry, yes. They're trying to find a transwarp coil to reduce their journey back home to Earth. So she just yeets a torpedo into someone's bedroom, blows the ship in half, and then goes, "You were only supposed to disable them." And it's...
Yeah, I do like, though, this whole thing is just like, really, like Janeway is like, it seems odd that Seven's just like, oh, the whole ship blew up. Why did that happen? Oh, yeah, we put the torpedo next to their main power thing. And it's like going, yeah, that sounds like a rookie error. Like surely
you would
Seven.
not do that.
Yeah. It seems like...
Yeah, icon behavior.
Yeah, it's like, I didn't know shooting him in the head would be that devastating. You're like, okay, right.
Shooting him in the head kills them? When?
It's like, oh, well, rookie error, next time. And Janeway's like, oh, well, that's quite a body count. But, thanks, Seven.
Yeah.
Seven's slow revenge against the universe. But I have to say, though, the first bit, before the torpedo gets teleported, the Borg vessel, this is iconic Star Trek to me, where it's the green lighting, these closed off corridors, the weird, what are they called, the globes where you put your hand on them and the electricity goes to your hand or whatever, but it basically just has circles with them in, and you're just like, it's so advanced. There's such a technological race. But it's and also, it identifies their ship as an Intrepid class, whereas I thought Voyager had never been seen before. So surely the Borg would just be like, oh, it's Voyager, like rather than, oh, another Intrepid class that's...
Trek fact coming in.
Go for it.
Coming in.
Does Baron know the fact, actually?
Probably not. I was... Maybe they assimilated someone who knew that Voyager existed.
Yeah.
But
surely they'd be like, oh, it's Voyager. Or the Queen would be like, it's fucking Janeway.
But they would have the knowledge, because obviously they are a hive mind, so they would know from assimilated Starfleet databases that the configuration is Intrepid class. So they would just look at it. They wouldn't know the name. They would just go, oh, this is an Intrepid class ship. This is what the armaments are. And they're just like, oh, shit, this is Janeway's. Oh, okay. So yeah.
Look, a missile.
So yeah, but it's they're in the cargo bay in the next scene, and the salvaging through, and the Doctor. Very few scenes with the Doctor in this feature length, but he's just like, I found an arm, but he does it in the most eureka, and he's just like, look at this. And Chakotay is like, my people have a say. Shut up, Chakotay.
No one cares.
But it's literally like right there, and it's like, Doctor, this has got sharp, pointy things. Did no one program you to not run with scissors?
I like it. I mean, this episode is a perfect, like both of these episodes are the writers don't know what to do with certain characters. Like, where just, and the Doctor doesn't have much to do in this one, but then in the second one, he, it's like, okay, cool, he has more for the Doctor to do. But it does have some characters, like literally, like we'll get in the next scene, we have it where, where Janeway gets Tom to explain something, and they're like, cool, you did something this episode. That's it, and like Neelix comes over and he's like, I brought these things to you.
What was that, Baron?
It's a bad thing though, because Tom Paris, we don't like Tom.
Well, when you have to yeet, when you have to have them finding a fucking old American car in space for his, like, for him to have some relevance, you're just kind of going like, okay, maybe that's a weird character to have.
Yeah, and at this point it's Ensign Tom Paris as well. He's been kimmed. Ooh, yes. Ooh, still a bit salty about that when he gets demoted. Shout out to Baron's uniform. The chat is really loving the uniform, Baron.
Well, this is the thing about Baron. Baron, please go into it. Baron is one of the... Is seminal the word? I don't think it is. I think it's one of the best drag queens, drag kings in Newcastle, in the UK, I'm willing to say. Amazing drag king, TikTok star, cosplay icon.
Okay, they're blushing now.
I am a cosplay. I do cosplay Captain Janeway. Not as often as I would like, but that's because there are pigs in comments who tried to school me on one of my favorite characters of all time. But yeah, Janeway is everything to me. So I appreciate the uniform.
There is no room for bigotry in Star Trek. If you are a fan of Star Trek and you are a bigot, you need your head checking.
Yeah, you have missed the point of Star Trek, I think is the key thing.
Since when was there wokeness in Star Trek?
And
1964.
it's also the idea of, yeah, that's exactly. And it's like, if you want to complain about Janeway, I think you might need to say it to her face, and she will probably knock you out.
She will Tuvix the fuck out of you.
Please.
Yeah.
Tuvix being a verb.
Yep, you are going to get Tuvixed. You're going to get Parised, Kimmed, and then Tuvixed.
Wow.
Because, like we've already mentioned in this episode, she has got the biggest cojones known to Starfleet at this point, where she's just like, the Borg? Yeah, never mind. Let's go get some transwarp coils.
I do love that when they have the missions in this where she's on the Borg cube, she just has the most ludicrous gun in the entire world. It's proper Vasquez from Aliens vibe. Like, yeah, she could probably have a hand phaser or something. And then she's just like,
she's got the tweezer Tommy gun of phasers where she's just, yeah, because they are, like I said, so at this point of the episode, they're looking through the wreckage, they're finding things useful. The Doctor's sort of shoved scissor hands into Chakotay's nose. He has to go meditate to his people. Afterwards, he's that traumatized by it. They keep looking. They keep looking.
Chakotay has a line where she's like, where Chakotay says like that Janeway fiddles with her comm badge when she's about to drop a bombshell, and I'm like, is this something they just made up for the episode, or does this
never
exist?
See it ever again? Look, ooh.
I know it's what it felt very much like that, and I was like, does she? Is that a thing?
Yeah. I've never seen that. I've never seen her do it before or after. So I'm just like, okay, Chakotay, you are noticing something that is literally just happened.
Where it's like in DS9, where it's like, what's the episode where it's like obviously with the devil herself, and Miles O'Brien. Where it's the episode where Miles goes missing and the whole case is based
Hang on. Are we on about Kai Wynn or are we on about Keiko?
Don't say her name.
Oh, God. She who must not be named.
You might summon Keiko and Molly the Destroyer.
No.
Okay. But yeah, that episode where she's just like, oh, it couldn't possibly be Miles. He never drinks coffee in the afternoon. And then it turns out later he totally does, and she just doesn't know her husband. And you're just like, okay, right. So I like the idea of Chakotay being like, oh, that's your tell. And Janeway's like, I've never done this before. But okay, fair enough.
But the most useful thing... Sorry, go on, Baron.
Yeah. Oh,
he's like, ow.
Yeah. Why are you fondling your comm badge, Captain? You know, my people have a saying about... Shut up, Chakotay! So
your people have a lot to say. You know?
He is the shut up Wesley of Voyager sometimes.
I don't know. Like I like Chakotay. I like Chakotay, but
yes.
He's my every Star Trek. I don't know if you're like this, Baron, but it's like every Star Trek. There's one character where when it's one of their episodes, I'm like, ooh, am I in the mood? You know. And I find it a bit like I find Chakotay a bit like that, where it's like, oh, it's a pure Chakotay episode.
But for me, it's Paris and B'Elanna that get me for that. But I mean, can we just the fish episode? That's all I need to say.
That's the only way Paris is getting a 10 like Janeway. That's all I'm saying. You'd have to de-evolve me to a fish to get me.
Salamander fetish.
Likely phrases.
Yep, salamander fetish, that's all I'm going to say. Troy McClure of Star Trek Voyager. So, I have deep, dark passions. Okay,
I love the people in the chat who don't know what we're talking about, who are just going to be like, what the actual fuck? And I'm like, yes, watch Voyager.
Shout out to Mark Cartier, who is in the chat. I am so sorry, we are on about salamander fetishes, and Mark Cartier joins the chat. Oh dear. Hi, Mark.
I love it. He joins at the worst possible times. It's so good.
But back in the salvaging, Janeway has another amazing quote moment where she goes, "This is how I prefer the Borg, in pieces."
Oh, she is so kick-ass.
Yeah.
So
Badass Janeway.
Badass Janeway. Yeah, but Seven does find some data nodes that may pull some, may have some useful information. One of them is a drone manifest, so there may be some tactical info. Seven goes away, does some analysis. Back in Astrometrics. The data recovers that there is a scout ship limping home to Borg space at Warp 2. It's been heavily damaged in a storm. And they go, so potentially this is our next target. This is Janeway's prey. She is salivating. You know, she's got the thirst for blood from Tuvix, so she is salivating at the mouth. You know, many thousands of Tuvixes I could airlock in.
The year of hell didn't last long enough.
Yeah.
Should have given me the full series.
Oh God, no. A little side note about that. A lot of people compare Star Trek Voyager to Battlestar Galactica, where at the end of Battlestar Galactica, this ship has its back broken. It is battle damaged. It is absolutely ruined. And yet Voyager is just like showroom fresh for 7 years.
Well, I do like that in this episode, it has it where like they hit the point, obviously. In season 1, it's very much like Enterprise, where it's going, oh, how do we manage all of this? Like, we can't get the replicators working. We don't have enough power for stuff. But then it literally hits a point where it's like, oh, it's fine now. You know, and in this one, they literally, like, they what do you call it? Where you, you know, they suicide a shuttle, effectively.
This episode.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, well, we'll just make another one. Whereas in every other Star Trek, like, shuttles are like precious things. Like in TNG and stuff, they're like, what? We lost a shuttle? No.
Shuttles are not as important as coffee.
Yeah, exactly. There's coffee in that nebula. More amazing Janeway quotes. Yeah.
More amazing. Absolutely. There is coffee in that nebula. So, yeah, so they find this Borg sphere. They go to the, what was it called? The meeting room? What did they call that room? We've got the ready room, observation lounge.
Observation lounge.
The observation lounge.
We're like, oh, it's space. Well, that was informative.
No, wait, Mark, you wrote for Battlestar Galactica. Okay, right. When I say I want you on the show, I need you on the show. Because Battlestar is huge. Absolutely.
I was waiting for you to try and fit Battlestar Galactica in this episode. It's like me and fitting Keiko into it. It's like, I'll find a way.
Sean Ferrick Mark from Trek Culture would we can talk for hours with you about Battlestar Galactica. So please send me a message and we will organise something in the near future. But also, sorry, what was that, Baron?
Also another sci-fi show with another MILF in it, so I'm there.
Oh, 100%. I think we're going to have a spin-off of the spin-off of Battlestar Galactica, because it's just such a seminal show that needs full in-depth conversation. And I'm here for it. I am absolutely here for it. Synoiz, watch Battlestar Galactica. So
I need to watch it again. Like I watched it, but it was ages ago, and I'm just like, this is due a full rewatch.
Literally right next to me is my Battlestar flight suit, like cosplay, like military jacket flight suit. But it's on the exercise bike, so fuck it, why not?
Hold on, have you been riding the exercise bike dressed for Battlestar Galactica?
Yes, so say we all. See?
Oh, amazing.
Hey!
So say we all. We are full-on Viper pilots. See? There we go. I've just made a complete mess getting that. This is the passion I have to show things off.
Well, I'm moist.
Good. So, they're in the observation lounge. Janeway devises a plan and she calls it Fort Knox. Little bit of
Yeah.
exposition for the 24th century people who are not obviously aware of the largest gold bullion in the world.
But they're then being like, okay, Tom, just so you have something to do in this episode, explain what Fort Knox is. And he's like, random Americana, my only subject. It's just, and then he explains it, and then I think he drives a shuttle later and looks at the camera a bit, and that's it. That's all they know what to do with Tom.
In this 24th century heist, he is the wheelman.
Okay, yeah.
That is his role. He is the baby driver of Voyager. That's all we are going to say. Without the, yes. So, moist? Why is everyone saying moist? Oh, no.
Moist.
Oh, no.
Yes,
what have you
Mark.
started?
Moist.
What have you started? Oh, no. So, yeah, they are planning a heist to steal a transwarp coil from the Borg sphere. They are calling it Fort Knox. Janeway, again, another IDAGF moment for Janeway, where she's like, we've been on the run, time to hit back. And you're like, dude, you are just like an itty bitty tiny little ship against these monumental monoliths of cubes.
Isn't it scary though that, like, obviously a lot of the things that people complain about Voyager, and especially the Borg, is the fact that the Borg have lost threat by this point. But in its defense, I'd say it's the fact of, Voyager have been through a lot of shit, and therefore they've kind of, Janeway's got to this level of sort of like, oh, I don't give a crap, like, throw the rule book out the window. Like, we don't know that this isn't the first skirmish that they've had with the Borg, so it sounds like they've kind of adapted a lot of tactics to be actually
they've adapted.
Yeah, they've adapted. They've assimilated some. No, but
I feel as well, Janeway probably feels like she's got a permanent one-up on the Borg because she's got an ex-drone, and she's the only ex-drone that's ever existed. So that's probably like we can do anything. We've got something that didn't exist before us.
Oh,
yeah, and it's also the fact of, like, the Borg's whole thing is that they know your tactics before you get there, or if it doesn't work the first time, then they know. Well, except in this episode where they seem a bit weird with it, where they're like, oh yeah, we assimilated all that knowledge and we knew exactly what you were going to do, but still got caught out by it. And you're like, you need to try harder, Borg.
Yeah, so...
like the Queen's just like, oh yeah, the Hansons used to do that. Should have planned for that, really, but still a perfect race.
But this is the thing, because we also get a lovely... Because we do have throughout the episode, we have an A, B, C story. So the C story... Well, I would say B or C story is 7 and 9's parents on the Raven 20 years ago.
Which is crazy, because this ties it in to Star Trek Picard Season 3, where, it's this idea of, we had like all of these episodes we're randomly getting from the Dabo Wheel of Trek, and then we're like, oh, they all kind of tie into this, like, Season 3 of Picard.
Yeah, but she finds because they have... Obviously, they have the Raven's logs, and Neelix, this is one of the few times...
So he has something to do.
So he has something to do.
I brought a box because that's the scope of my abilities.
10 teraquads worth of data distilled into these little... Do you remember those 90s commercials for the CDs where it's like, we've got 150 amazing tracks on these 70 CDs?
Yes.
This is exactly what this Tupperware box of pads is, where it's just like, we've got all this data distilled into this little box just for you.
It's so bad. Like, when you think back of the past and stuff, and obviously, like, when they were doing Voyager, they were probably like, oh, memory's not going to get that crazy kind of thing. But like, they were, all the Hansons were just filming everything in ludicrous HD, and you're like, it doesn't matter. No one's going to watch it, But it's this idea of, I was on Amazon the other day and I went down my wish list, and right at the bottom, it had something that I added in, I think 2007 or something, like ages ago. And it was a wish list for basically an MP3 player with 4 gigabytes of memory.
Ooh.
Okay. And obviously my wildest dreams at the time, like, highly unlikely, but just...
Think of the 250 songs. Do you even know 250 songs?
Remember when they did that, where they put on the amount of songs you could fit on something, and now it's like all music ever. It's like everything.
Yeah, there was a show that said, I you with your amateurish MP3. I just have this cube with every song ever made, and I'm just like, yep, we do now. We have the Spotify.
I just love that all of the pads on Voyager are like no one making them. All this wonderful advancement that they had in other areas of technology, and no one's thought about putting more than 32 meg into a pad. Yeah. So they're literally okay. I have 50 pads, and each one's like a Kindle. So
but it's. I mean, this scene with the pads is a good scene between Neelix and Seven, because Seven believes that her parents were misguided. She blames her parents essentially for being.
I have a quote.
Ooh.
I've done all of it. She says, "My parents underestimated the collective because of their arrogance. I was raised by Borg."
Yes. It's an excellent quote. Yeah, it's very, very bitter from 7 of 9. But then Neelix...
The question is, though, is she proven wrong in this episode? I mean, I'm it's this sort of thing where obviously she starts out with this sort of like opinion of her parents, and then like as it goes on, we're like, yeah, it's pretty much what happened, really. But we'll see.
Well, I said earlier, this episode is the episode of mummy issues. Jane, a mummy now, so it doesn't matter what the real Hansons did at this point, because they essentially created the situation that she was in to be Janeway's.
Marcus just called it the Baron bomb. I like that.
That's brilliant. But it's Mommy Issues, the movie, where it's literally like it's Seven and her 2 surrogate mums fighting over custody effectively, where you've got you've got Janeway being like, I'm strict but fair, and the Borg Queen being like, I don't know, like gaslighting central, basically.
Passive aggressive, the feature-length episode. So, but yeah, so Neelix sort of does come back with a good point, where it's like, you've got all this data, all I've got is some old pictures and not a lot of them.
A faded hollow photo, and you're like, how does that happen? How does that happen, Neelix? And I think he's just messed up the brightness contrast on the pad, and you're like, no, you can turn it. Okay, fair enough.
You've turned up the full grain.
Yeah, you can turn the brightness up, and he's like,
noise cancellation. Do you understand?
Oh, go and burn something.
Sorry. Production quality, Neelix. Do you know it?
I mean, the fact that Neelix in this scene looks like a magic eye puzzle, like, literally the outfit he's wearing. You could stare at him and see a sailboat.
It's just 90s curtains. Romulans, Neelix, they all wear 90s curtains. They are blackouts.
If you had curtains like that, that is how you make a serial killer. If you have someone sitting in a room with curtains like that for more than an hour a day.
There goes the monitor.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool.
Just gonna remove my curtains.
And it's super popular right now, all of the vintage clothing that looks like that. It's all in again. You can get it really easily. Velvet, me to dress you up as Neelix.
Oh God, can you imagine? That'd be so good.
Or Quark.
I think I'd love that. Like, I love Neelix and Quark's outfits, because you can tell that it was the costume designer just being like, finally I can mess around. Because in this episode, like, the crazy thing, later on we have a whole race appearing who have their own dress style and their own costumes, and we see like 20 of the costumes. And you're like, that costume designer was just like, okay, here's a race. We're never going to see them again, probably. And here's design how they look, make 20 of those costumes, and then that's it. That's scary to think that that's like a team of people's jobs.
That's dedication to Star Trek lore. Let's not forget, like, every facet of Star Trek was made with love and attention to detail and passion, from the ships to the costumes to the music, everything. That's why to this day they are timeless, and they are constantly on syndication, because they are episodes and movies that you can just watch again and again and again, because they are set in the future. Yes, they may be a little bit dated here and there, but the passion and the attention to detail will always shine through.
And then they go and spoil it with Naomi fucking Wildman.
We'll get to that, Synoiz. Good grief. So Seven starts reading the logs, and we do get a flashback to Stardate 32611.4, 20 years ago, if anyone's paying attention, to the Raven, where a young Annika Hansen is playing with a Borg cube. Side note, Playmates, Star Trek The Next Generation, Borg cube with sound effects.
Was it? Was it
Yes.
actually merged?
It was actually
That's amazing.
merchandise. Of course it was. You know, and Magnus comes in and goes, no, that's not a toy. It's a collectible. I'm like, yes, yes, it
You've
is.
taken it out of the original packaging.
Yeah.
Throw you into space.
No, it's devalued. She...
Also, can I just say that Magnus is kind of hot in a weird way? I was watching it and I was like, oh, he did endanger his whole family, but maybe.
Oh, see,
Anyway.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Mark is on my side. Poor Naomi. You leave Naomi Wildman alone.
No.
Look, she's
Poor
not
Naomi,
Molly.
no.
She's not Molly. Okay.
I appreciate that. Like, okay, they're lost in space. Someone's got to give, because that's realistic. But why did it have to whinge?
I think it's this weird thing. Like we would, me and friends were talking about this, about like trying to work out, and this was the poll I was going to suggest, Goodwill, that we put out of who are the worst parents in Trek. And then I realized that Worf exists. So it would have to be who's the worst parent in Trek, excluding Worf. You know, like
You are like the son I never had.
Yeah, did you see that meme where it's like Picard, where it's like he's like, I'd love to have a son one day, and everyone just looking at each other. We're gonna have a poll of basically like who are the worst parents, like the Hansons or the O'Briens. I mean, they do lose Molly for like a whole week, basically.
But they didn't take their youngest daughter halfway across the galaxy to chase a race of people who will assimilate entire races.
Yeah, it is a bit like, you know, I mean, I don't know how much, you know, like creches cost in, you know, Star Trek universe, but it's got to be cheaper than that.
Also, side note, Mark raises a good point. At least Naomi aged 12 years in one season.
That's also fair, yes. But at least they didn't infect, either of those didn't infect their children with like a nanovirus that gave like hallucinations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also in the chat, hey Joe, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the episode of Tangents, because Naomi Wildman seemed to be a trigger. So sit down, grab a coffee. It's going to be a long one. So, but yeah, so we're on the Raven, and Annika's asking all these questions about the Borg because they don't really know. There's only been murmurs and subspace echoes and everything like that. They just think, they're a race of beings that have been cybernetically enhanced. They don't know. The door sound effect, a little bit of a TOS sound effect added into there. See, you guys, you all turn up for my little anal Trek facts about sound effects and vessels. I'm so sorry.
Everyone turns out for anal. It's fine.
So...
Hello, Tone. You're getting awfully low, aren't you?
So, oh my god. So then it goes to 8 months later, Stardate 32623.5, where the Hansons are trying to refuel. They're running out of fuel. The nearest asteroid field with dilithium is 10 days away. And he's like, no, we can last another 2 more weeks if we conserve energy, reduce the sensors. And then suddenly, as if a plot device had been constructed, they get a subspace echo, a subspace wave they detect. And lo and behold, there is the Borg cube for the first time. And we do get a little bit of Jerry Goldsmith's Borg theme from First Contact in this, and I thought it's very ominous, that theme. And just the cube slowly panning across the view screen, he's just like down, down, and he's like, oh. And then Annika's like, I can't sleep, almost like she knows, foreshadowing.
But then they just be like, oh, it's a Borg cube, go back to bed, you little shit. You know, and it's very much that kind of like, oh, okay. But I think this is great, though, because obviously we see just how little knowledge anyone had of the Borg. Because obviously, like, we're used to TNG, where we basically go like, oh, yeah, we get a lot of knowledge very, very quickly about them. And then Wolf 359. But then, like, this is way before that and stuff. And it's and obviously you think about how crazy it would be if their knowledge had actually gotten back to Starfleet or the Alpha Quadrant, in order to be useful.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, as exobiologists, were they just storing it on the ship or transmitting it, or did it get to a point where they were too far? Because they do say.
Well, they mentioned that they burned their bridges.
Yeah, they crossed.
And so you kind of just go like,
well.
"Oh bollocks!" Well, so maybe they weren't sending it home, and that's the real shame about this. That everything the bad that happens to Seven, because they're kind of shit.
Yeah,
like they don't. It doesn't come to anything. Like, by the time Seven has this knowledge and they have all of that knowledge from the Hansons back, they're like, yeah, kind of, we kind of know all of that, really.
Yeah. But they have a theory that they have a theory if they don't engage, if they don't make contact, if they don't make themselves known, that the Borg won't engage. And you're like, okay, like, it's still a bit like, we know it is a terrifying thing to be in front of this huge monolith of a vessel. They're just like, ha ha ha, new species, cha la 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 la. It's like the wild thornberries, just more dangerous. Do you know what I mean? Like, smashing.
Goodwill, you need to see Baron doing wild thornberries. Like, it is one of the best cosplays and drag routines I've ever seen.
Dilf Nigel Thornberry, yeah.
Henceforth, Magnus Hansen is now Nigel Thornberry. So, back to present day, they go to Red Alert because they have located the Borg sphere. The shields and the transwarp are offline, but it will take them 72 hours to bring the transwarp coil offline before they pop the clutch and leg it. So Janeway's going, right, we have got 72 hours. We conveniently bang on 72 hours, might I just add. The Borg have got 3 exact Earth days to get their shit fixed. So Janeway wants to do a raid, so they start doing holodeck simulations. Doesn't go well.
Well, we don't know it's a holodeck simulation, and I love this because because we basically get to see them doing a raid on it and doing all this stuff, and then it goes tits up, and they're all about to be assimilated, and then it goes, oh, it was all a simulation.
They Dallased it.
I loved it. Yeah, I really, because it caught me out. I was like, oh, they've gone straight into this, and then I do also love that the shield generator is just a fucking box. It's literally just like, it's just a box on a stick, and they're just like, okay, cool.
Yeah, who puts shields around the shield generator? But all because they are 6 seconds late, they all die in the holodeck.
Yeah, I love it though. Like it says here, the quote, anything we can do to shave some time off, and I'm like, running? And maybe that's me being like cheeky, but it is this thing of just they're awfully not even brisk when they're walking around the ship, and I'm like, if you need to get 6 seconds off, pelt it, because the drones aren't gonna care.
Yeah, you wouldn't run, but you would walk as if you desperately needed the lavatory.
It would be like the closest an Englishman gets to running when they're late for the bus, where it's basically a sort of yeah. Or just a standard gay walk. A lot of shoulders, a lot of sass. You can imagine Tuvok doing that down the corridor, just be like, yes, we must get to
the Jack Sparrow. Didn't you know mincing is Starfleet rule number 236.4, paragraph 6. Everyone
How can we shave 6 seconds off? Yeah. We must mince. I'm here for the content.
You are here for the wah-wahs. The wah-wahs, the ha-has. You are here for the ha-has. But yeah, Seven, this is the first instance where we see Seven, who is reluctant to go on this mission because she is reading these stories about her parents. She's feeling reluctant. She's feeling anxiety. And who better than to cure her of her anxiety and her nervousness than Naomi Wildman, who can't sleep? Oh, don't roll your eyes at me, Baron. Don't you dare, Naomi Wildman. She is not a Molly, and she is not a Wesley Crusher.
It's just this thing of like, the episode, I think it's season 2, where I think it's one of the ones with Seska in it, and where they steal their teleportation. It's the Seska and what are the race called again? The
Kazon.
The Kazon. Seska, like in the Kazon.
Pound shop Klingons.
on your head, and you're just going, okay, you need to take a lot of care of them. But yeah, that episode where they steal the transporter technology and then they just teleport anyone they don't like into space, and you're like, Naomi, that could work.
I will apologize.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mrs. Wildman, but and she's just like, oh, thank fuck.
I just want to apologize to the guys who are watching about the feed. It did cut off a little bit slightly there, but normal service has been resumed. So I do apologize about the joys.
You haven't missed much, except me moaning and suggesting ways to fix the Naomi Wildman situation.
The joys of doing things live. So, but Naomi can't sleep. She had a dream about the Borg. She's curious, and she starts asking Seven a lot of questions. This naturally pisses off Seven, and then suddenly the first contact spider Borg implant comes out, and he just like, because that's so creepy. It's so goddamn creepy, that part.
It's great though, because obviously Seven wakes up and it's not a dream, but it's basically like a sort of hallucination effectively. Yes. But it's the idea that like Naomi is saying every single fear that Seven has, like subconsciously. And I think it's really great that the writers basically went, hey, how can we have that without going to like a shitty internal monologue or something like that. And I think it's great that they basically have this scene in. Obviously they could have got anyone else to do it, but it works. Like, for all I complain about Naomi Wildman, she is a part of Seven's development, like,
Baron,
and is essential.
It's like a horror thing, isn't it? Children are creepy, so put a child in a creepy hallucination thing like that and it's going to be a little bit creepier.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. And it's also like the idea of like, Seven relearning humanity and obviously having like a child there. And it gets that kind of maternal aspect to her, and it does that the same way that Janeway is kind of like a mother. Well, we're joking about it, but a mother to Seven. Seven is also kind of like a mother to Naomi Wildman. Because do we ever see Naomi Wildman's mom ever again? She's in like one episode where she's pregnant, one episode where she has Naomi, and yeah,
because she gets lost and Neelix has to comfort Naomi.
Yeah, and I'm just but she's not in it as much as Naomi Wildman.
No, because it's all about Naomi. Oh no, I'm starting now. But we do get the first instance of the Queen trying to contact Seven.
That moment. Oh no, sorry, no.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to talk about the moment where they put the Queen together, and it's just incredible.
Oh, yes, we will get to that part. That is a very tasty part.
Coming down, stunning.
Oh,
it's the. I mean, essentially, it's like human Meccano. So it's kind of.
Yeah, we'll get to that part. Yeah. But at this time, the Queen offers Seven an ultimatum: rejoin the Collective and spare Voyager, or we'll just straight up kill you all.
Well, and people say the Borg aren't reasonable.
They are a little bit, aren't they? They are very reasonable. But so we then get a flashback back to the Raven, 32629.4, 3 months of tracking the cube. And this log is very blasé by Magnus, where he's just like, we've been tracking this cube for 3 months. Oh, we're at the other side of the galaxy now. Oh, well. And he's just like, dude, how do you think you're going to get home from here?
It is that strange thing. And it's like, I think that's their failing. And that's so much a part of Seven's development in terms of how they perceive humanity is the idea of their parents are, like you say, just blasé. They're just like, oh, well, we've burned all our bridges and no one's actually caring or expecting us to come home. We don't have a plan to get home. We don't have a plan to get our information across. But of course, nothing bad's ever going to happen. And of course, literally going into the heart of darkness, as in the Borg cube, like one of the most dangerous races in the entire galaxy. Even if they don't know that yet, they must, because the Borg are infamous even at this point, like from their knowledge. But then the idea of just like, it's that weird. Why do they think they're invincible?
They must.
I think it's that meme. Yeah, what is it? The archetype of the scientist who doesn't think about the consequences. basically just being
Yeah.
like, oh, well, it's all about the work and they don't think about the bigger picture.
Well, this is the thing, like, they must have known how potentially dangerous the Borg were, because let's not forget, at this stage in the timeline, the Elorians, who were saved by the Enterprise B, did escape their home because of the Borg. So any evidence, if they were exobiologists worth their salt, they would have spoken to Elorians, and Elorians would have gone, are you clinically insane to do this and also take your daughter with you?
But they weren't exobiologists worth their salt because they named the Borgs Bill and Needlefingers.
Don't forget Junior.
Hold on, are you suggesting? And we were saying when we were talking about this before we started streaming, I was like, why have they named all of them like Dick Tracy villains? Like, you know, I just love that they just imagine all of the Borg with sort of like, yeah, see, kind of voice.
Well, this is
We're gonna take this Borg out of service, see?
Yes, but this is the people behind the scenes who have an absolute penchant for 40s and 50s TV and film. You know, you've got, you know, Picard's
Needle fingers.
what was Picard's holodeck? What was Oh my god, I've drawn a blank because we're live.
We need more information. What, his holodeck?
His holodeck program from First Contact, and that he
Oh.
Dixon Hill. So that penchant for that type of genre has always carried out all the way through. So having like goon names for Borg drones like Needlefingers and Bill, yeah, exactly. And he just like, where's Ted?
fair.
If Bill's there, where's Ted?
I will just say, in their defense, we're saying that they're shit names. But how many drones are there on that ship?
Stinky Lefty and Jazz, Mark just said.
Stinky Lefty and Jazz. I quite like it. What did Jazz do to earn his name? He's just like, it's basically
He
a
had
Borg,
jazz
but
tools.
Yeah, no, it's like rather than scissors or something on the end of the arm, it's a boombox. And it's just been like, okay.
Harmonica, saxophone.
In a sense, the Needlefingers does kind of link back to the Doctor at the beginning with their hand.
Yeah. I do like though that they've probably run out of good names. They were just like, oh, fucking Borg number 7,000. Oh god, have we used Jeff yet? We have. Right, okay, it's Jeffalina? No? Okay, Needlefingers, fucker.
Paul's just said the Borg needs a screaming woman.
No, it does not, Paul.
No, we don't.
This is tying into, this episode will be coming out on Monday for Monsters Up North, where we reviewed The Invisible Man, the 1933 film with Claude Rains. Claude Rains' first feature movie, I think.
Yes.
I should know because we literally just recorded it yesterday and I've already forgotten. But yeah, it has a character in that who I will not shut up about because I can't stand her, where it's an actress called Una O'Connor whose whole job in the whole film is to just screech. And you know that thing where just like, we need a woman to just be hysterical for a couple of scenes, and they're like, got it, you know.
We do get that, but
yeah.
they are watching Bill and Needles take care of Junior, who was slightly damaged, and he goes into his alcove, and they just legit kill him, take him offline, and start salvaging whatever they could from the body. And
that's how I want to go. Just saying.
Well, I mean, he sat there recording this on his Google Glass. Because, guys, it's Google Glass at the 21st
That's
century.
going on TikTok. You know, that's going, it's just like lols.
Oh, TikTok in the 24th century. No.
Hashtag FYP, is it? Is it for your perusal? Or
yeah.
What are you, Paige?
For you? Oh, right. I don't know. I log into TikTok and I'm like, it's making noises, close.
We don't do the tick and the talk. We barely do the facey bee, but we are on the U and the tube. So we are so old and in the way. But yes, back to present day, Operation Fort Knox, as it's been now called. Janeway is speaking to Seven of Nine, and she's reassigning Seven of Nine to the bridge because she can sense that something's wrong with Seven. Seven begs to go, but she doesn't say why. Oh, go on, Baron.
I have the quote.
Oh, she's got the quote. Baron quote.
You underestimate the Borg, which I like that links back to her saying my parents underestimated the collective. So she says, you underestimate the Borg. Voyager is my collective now. Your survival is important to me. Assign me to the away team.
It's very foreshadowing, and it's very like, do you not get the hint? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
I think though we have missed out the scene, which is where Seven has the vision where she's speaking to the Queen. She has a transmission from the Borg Queen, like basically sort of going, "Hey, we know all about the plan. We know that you're trying to get, you're trying to invade the sphere." And I always thought it was weird that whether Seven was aware of that or whether it was like, totally subconscious, or like she's in this scene and you're just like, why can't she tell Janeway about that? Because that's kind of important. Or does she? Like, do they factor it into the actual plan?
Does she believe?
And I find it a bit weird.
Or does she believe that if she can hear the Borg can hear her? So potentially not tipping off the Queen. You could go into the ready room and go, "Captain, I've got a mad woman in my noggin, and she's saying if I don't join them, she's going to blow you into smithereens like you did with Tuvix. Do you remember Tuvix?"
Yeah. So, and Janeway's just like, "Oh, and you want to go back on the mission? Okay."
Yeah. So I think
you sound sane.
I think she was quite clever in sort of doing what she did in case she did tip off the Queen. So I do like that.
Okay.
But we did have, because Baron, they mentioned the quote earlier on about the parents, Seven's parents. So that was the scene previously. This is the bit where so Janeway reluctantly puts her onto the team.
How do you feel about it though? Like, about, obviously, Baron, feel free to defend Janeway here, but I find it a bit misguided, Janeway here, where she's basically going like, "Hey, you might not be ready for this, but watch all of these logs. Someone else could do it, but watch all these logs of your dead parents." And then afterwards she's like, "Oh, that emotionally affected you. Wonder how that happened." I don't know. It's the idea of, it seems like sort of setting something off and being like, "Oh, well, let's see what happens." It feels a bit horrible of Janeway, if I'm honest.
She is very good at that, isn't she? Making decisions for other people, morally grey decisions.
She's very morally grey, yes.
Yeah, like the Tuvix, assimilating Seven, really, because Seven begged to not be human.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we know now, and we know now in the future, that worked out great for her. But she did beg. She didn't want to be a human at all. She wanted to stay part of the Borg. So I think Janeway is very good at making those horrible decisions that generally turn out well.
Yeah, she's
at the time.
I think it's good though that she's like that, because it's like the fact of all of our captains in Star Trek are kind of morally grey. Like Picard, has his like, duty and honor, but he's not perfect. Sisko does what needs to be done during a war, and Janeway is very much kind of like, it's that thing, and obviously we do go into it in a couple of episodes where she tends to make the right decision. She tends to be like, "Okay, fuck with your opinions, we're doing this," and it is the right thing to do. But then mutinies and stuff like that, or people disagreeing with her. But it is the idea of she's not always right, and that's. I don't even know if she does anything about it, though. I don't even think she learns over the course of time.
But look at Sisko. I think that era of Star Trek, the true blue Starfleet captain just wasn't going to cut it on television. You needed someone who was morally ambiguous, morally grey, because it was that era where, I mean, even Picard later on was morally ambivalent. And that carried on. I mean, I'm going to say it again, and Mark, it's not because of you. Battlestar Galactica with Adama was extremely morally grey because it was in a very unique situation where, let's not forget, they were in the Delta Quadrant. They were 70,000 light years from Starfleet. She had to make the decisions on her own for the benefit and the saviour of her crew. But if you look at the pilot episode and then all the way through, she evolved to be from true blue to morally grey because she learned that being true blue Starfleet is not going to cut it in deep space. So you need to have that ambivalence and the balls to make those really bad, really awful decisions. You know, how far do you go? Like, a lot of people have said, like, if you compare end of season 7 Janeway to season 1 episode 1 Janeway, would the last episode Janeway have done what she had done to get her crew back to the Alpha Quadrant?
No, and that's her development. Although maybe throwing Neelix out of an airlock could have been thrown in the deal as well, but you know,
I think episodes in general, though, or these 2 episodes in general, were huge character developments for both Seven and Janeway. Yes. I think they were massive turning points for both characters. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, the bond was strengthened because of this episode, because like you said, Baron, the mummy issues all came to the surface. But they do. This is she had unresolved mother issues with her original mother, the Borg Queen, and Janeway. Because let's not forget, when 7 of 9 came aboard, she was an absolute brat. She just did what she wanted to do because she thought it was better. It's like, and Janeway was going, no. Only I can do that. You can't do that.
And the thing is, as well, all of her mothers have decisions for her.
Yes.
Like, she is not being able to make her own decisions in her entire life.
And Mark raises a good point there. You can't do the right thing if you're all dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a good point.
Yeah, it's about the hard choices.
And I think that's it. And that's a very, very good point, Baron, because I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, like, and it's this idea where Seven has never had any kind of agency. And it's like, it's great that we kind of get it in season 3 of Picard, where she is like literally going like, hey, fuck everyone. I'm going to actually have agency at last, where, you know, she literally mutinies. She helps out Picard and Riker. And it's great kind of seeing that she's kind of come that far, rather than being like, oh, okay, Mum, I'll do what you say. You know,
she became more well-rounded. She became more human. Without, you know, I mean, this was the thing with season 3 of Picard, was Shaw dead naming Seven, calling her Annika, calling her Hansen, and it was. Yeah, that he did that because he's like, you are human, you are not Borg, you will be called Annika Hansen, and it's a case of she is Seven. She is not forgetting who she is. She is not forgetting where she has come from. She is wearing it as a badge of honor.
Which is strange, though, because in this episode, it has Seven demanding to be called Annika
Hansen. Yes.
When the Borg say, you know, the Borg Queen basically goes like, "Oh, you are 7 and 9," and she's like, "No, I'm a human," and it's that kind of. I think there's something wonderful about the fact that the journey has been.
But she's yet to accept it.
Being like, hey, am I this? Am I that? Am I that? And she doesn't know yet because
she hasn't accepted that side. She sort of rejected that side completely because she's like, okay, I want to be completely human. So you will call me Annika Hansen. And then obviously 30 years later, she's like, I accept the human part, but I also accept my Borg part because they both make me who I am.
Well, the important bit that she has chosen. She has done all of that journey and she has gone, and this is how I identify. And that's obviously a very important thing right now in society.
Incredibly
the idea
important.
Of being like, hey, they have decided that. You roll with it, you know.
Once again, if you are a bigot and you like Star Trek, please check yourself into a mental institution at your earliest convenience. Thank you. So back to the show.
That'll take up taxpayers' money. Just throw yourself in a wood chipper. Demonetized right there.
So back to the show. They get to the Borg sphere. They fire off a shuttle, one of 750,000 that they have in this very tiny shuttle bay. They fire the shuttle. It quickly becomes a realization that this is remotely piloted by the wheelman of Voyager, Tom Paris, who's chewing a toothpick and wearing some aviators because, you know, dimension. They don't take the bait initially, but they eventually do. They do take the bait. They track to the shuttle. They begin assimilating it. As they bring it in, they lower their shields. The away team beams over as the shields are down. And then we hear the Queen again to Seven say, "Never forget who you are. Never forget who you are." They plant the charges on the shields. They steal a transwarp coil, detonate the shield generator, and as they are doing a runner, Seven goes, "I am staying." Janeway naturally goes apeshit. She was like, "The hell you are! I'm taking you with me, whether you like it or not." And and Seven's like, And then
this is Janeway's no wire hangers moment. This is
And the two goons talking up, Bill and Needles, as we'll just call them, Goon 1 and Goon 2.
Bill and Needles.
The Goonies. Ha! Goonie reference. So, are you happy, Paul? Can I have my job back?
Don't set Paul off about the fucking Goonies.
Yeah. But Janeway, Tuvok and Kim beam over, leave Seven. The sphere transwarps out. Lovely bit, like Baron mentioned earlier on, really, for 1999, delicious bit of CGI and direction for the Borg Queen coming down from her... What is she doing up there? No one knows. Coming down from her head jar from Futurama. And then I loved how, because it was so goddamn expensive in First Contact to shoot and animate, they just thought, CGI.
Yeah.
They did all this. But that, fun fact, guys, that is Alice Krieger's Borg outfit from First Contact reused.
Really? The same outfit?
It is the same.
I love that was probably part of the casting process. They're just going, "Hey, by the way, will you fit this random Alice Krieger outfit?"
Yeah.
I will say though, I'm being horrendous because like I know it was the 90s. I know. But I have said it's the Borg Queen from Wish in my notes. But it's because
she was
it's
the
like...
original. She auditioned for the role of the Borg Queen, and they did want her. But they did go for Alice Krieger because her performance was better. But bless, I
don't
believe
mean
Susanna
Thompson. I don't mean in Susanna Thompson. I mean in terms of the 90s special effects, like the whole, like we had with Babylon 5, where basically everyone was like, "Oh, it looks so advanced," and you're like.
But they did win an Emmy for this. They won an Emmy for this episode.
What?
For the special effects, they beat out so many shows, and they won an Emmy purely, largely for the animation for the Borg Queen.
Really?
For a TV
show. Well, fuck my drag.
Sorry, Baron, what was that?
No, it's all right. She's my favorite Borg Queen. I think she's stunning. The way she speaks is ominous and like just like concerning. It makes you feel concerned for anyone she's speaking to, because there's just something really unnerving in her voice.
Take care, Mark. Like I said, please message me. I want you on the show. So take care, Mark.
See you, Mark. Thanks for joining. Hopefully I haven't been too offensive to the world.
Oh, it's fine. But no, you are absolutely right, Baron. The fact that Susanna Thompson based her performance on Alice Krieger as well is really good, because she delivers it perfectly. Absolutely perfectly, because they are a hive. And yes, the Borg Queens are individuals per se, but to have a similar trait, absolutely stunning performance.
I always wonder about this, because it's the idea of what are the Queen. Actually, it happens later. It happens in part 2, but I love the fact where it has the Borg Queen speaking and it comes out the other end as the voice that we knew from TNG. That is the best. Oh yeah, let's just tidy up that little loophole thing I've ever seen, where basically, because we always just go, "Hey, why have they got queens now when they used to have that crazy voice before?" And then in this one, it just goes, "Oh no, it's just how the speakers work. Oh, it's just, the voice gets translated into that." And I think that's
the voice of the hive,
but it's just, are the Borg Queens all the same program? Like, is it the same personality between them, and it's just the body that, like, is it that they go, "Oh, we need a queen. Okay, cool. We'll get this body, put it together, and then put the Borg Queen mind in it"? Or are they all individual, like a cast? Like, is it cast or cased of
ensemble
Borg society? No, not the body parts. I mean, like the actual,
an entourage. Really...
Well, like, are they all like a class of the Borg, where it just goes, hey, these are queens, these are drones? Or is it just there's one queen who gets replicated everywhere? And so this one is the one who was in First Contact. The one that's in Picard is the one from, First Contact.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
I think work like bees in a hive, then their queens are going to have similar or the same kind of aspects to them.
Yeah.
Which makes them the queen.
Yeah.
So
it's sort of, because it's never fully. I'm hoping somewhere down the line there is going to be a anthology or mini-series that explains the origin of the Borg, because this is a race, this is a species that, well, not species, this is a collective of people that we need to learn the origins of, because it goes back as far back as someone said like the 14th or 15th century Earth time. That's how long the Borg have been assimilating. What happened? There has been beta canon, there has been novelizations where it was, a race's plan to cure a disease and it spiraled out of control, and it was a mix of cybernetics and biology, a singularity moment for a species.
What is the thing is, I watched like a YouTube video. I don't think it was Trek Culture, but it was basically about potential origins for the Borg. And the crazy, what's the alien race called from the first movie, the first original series movie, Goodwill?
The motion picture.
Yeah.
Oh, so there was a theory that it was the artificial race that Voyager was rescued.
And the problem is that the video was basically going, hey, Roddenberry specifically said, no, that's not the origin of the Borg. And I'm like, but that's kind of perfect. Like, it
really is.
That slots really well. And he's just like, nah. And you're like, oh, okay, then. And it feels a bit like, oh, okay, I'd be quite happy with that as the origin of the Borg, like in terms of...
Yeah, I would love to see how they do it. Because I want to know, because yes, we have plenty of theories of the Borg Queen. Yes, we don't know, because obviously in First Contact she goes, you think in such three-dimensional terms, where Picard goes, but you died on the cube. But we want to know, like, are they queens that are replicated but have a higher cognitive function to run large swathes of the Borg Empire, shall we call it? That other hive minds can't. I would love to see the origin of that. But, I mean, getting back to this is where part 1 ends, because the Borg Queen goes to 7, welcome home. And that's where part 1 would end in certain, if you're watching it on syndication or anything like that. But the Queen, if you weren't fully into Star Trek, if you weren't looking at the nitty-gritty, you would think that is Alice Krige. You would think that is a spitting image.
Yeah. It's so well done. It's so well done.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Maybe they're Cylons.
Yeah. I think
that was the next evolution, wasn't it?
Maybe.
Imagine if they tied together.
150,000 years later.
We've already established that what is it, like Red Dwarf exists in the same galaxy as like Trek and stuff. So I just think maybe it started with the film Weird Science.
Oh.
And yes, and basically just spiraled from there.
They evolved from the 1980s. HR Giga.
HR Gigi. That's a drag queen name if ever there was. HR Gigi.
I'm tired. But yeah, so the second episode, obviously the next scene, the Queen basically says that we planted you on Voyager, we let you go, but won't go into further detail, because she goes to 7, it's nap time.
I love it. Time for your nap. Oh, you're getting tired. Oh, go in your alcove. Yeah,
because this is the thing, because as 7's regenerating, we've got Janeway back on Voyager wanting to know what possessed 7 to rejoin the collective. Because I believe it's Chakotay that says...
And it
that
never crosses her mind, hey, maybe I shouldn't have made her watch loads of videos of her dead parents. Anyway, why would she possibly be annoyed?
Yeah, but then Chakotay says, well, she did say that she'd betray us. And Janeway's like, well, no, because she said that we are her collective. She call back to the early part of the episode that we are a collective, etc., etc. They are vaporizing, getting rid of the debris, and Neelix, again, gets a paycheck. Says, what do you want to do with Seven's alcove? It's using quite a lot of power. And Jane was like, no, leave it on. Let's just drain whatever remaining power that we've got.
It seems
left.
a bit odd. It's like, oh, this was their favorite television. Let's just keep it on permanently. And you're like, you can turn it back on. I'm pretty sure. I don't know how the alcove works, but I'm pretty sure you can be like, and standby.
It's sort of like the Cisco's baseball of Voyager, where they're like, no, they'll be back. Keep it on. But I'm like, but you can turn it off.
Yeah. Don't dismantle it. But
turn it off. It's
although
not a blast furnace.
I mean, imagine what happens when Seven comes back, and it's like, when you come home from college, and you're just like going, Mum, why have you filled my room full of boxes and stuff? It's the equivalent of that. But
why is there a treadmill in my cargo bay?
Just comes back and the alcove's got loads of random boxes piled up next to it.
Yeah, Tuvix shirts, season... Oh, right, okay. But yeah, everyone's favourite character, as in these two, they're not the favourites. Naomi Wildman goes to see Captain Janeway, demands an audience with the captain. Tuvok's like, I've got a crewman that wishes to pay a visit, and Janeway's just like, I'm having my coffee. But then she sees Naomi. Naomi's submitting a rescue plan, bless her, to come and find... 7 of 9. She's like, well, if we realign the deflected if, and Janeway's like, oh, sweet stupid child, you don't know how physics works, do you?
I do quite like it though. Like, I'm not, obviously we live in Tory Britain, so it'll probably come to child labor eventually. But it's the idea of, it's great that all of the kids shown in Star Trek being this close to I'm trying not to laugh. Being this close to sort of like the action effectively, they're so clever. Like, we have Wesley and we have Naomi Wildman, and you wonder if it's like because they're in the thick of it, like they're on this ship and it's impossible to get away from practical knowledge. But like, she's really good in this scene where she's just like, oh yeah, I've totally thought about this and I've thought it through. And I don't know, it's endearing to Naomi, no matter how much I dislike the concept of the character. I understand that they are essential for A7, like they were a foil to 7 effectively. And this scene is kind of endearing.
But this is why...
Then they throw her out the airlock.
This is another reason why Star Trek gives me hope for the future. Because our generation, the younger generation of today, the youth, are watching Peppa Pig.
Is that OOF?
They're watching Peppa Pig, eating Tide Pods, and generally just being an absolute nuisance. In the future, they are solving problems via the use of quantum physics.
We don't know they're not eating Tide Pods, though. But maybe
or
they're
is
like
it the Tide Pods that make them intelligent? Is that why the government is... Oh.
Time to find out!
Anyway, no, not the X-Files. Wrong show. So, yeah, so... Janeway's doing a scan of the sensor data that they received whilst on the Borg sphere, and as Naomi is proposing a plan, the computer completes their analysis and they realise that these random anomalous subspace signals and wakes and noises are actually signals transmitted to 7 of 9's cortex from the Borg. They are Borg DMs, if you will. And the Queen has been sliding right on in there with her PVC to go, hey, you up?
Yeah,
7 was indeed up.
Yeah, so 7 just left her on red for too long.
Oh my days! But back on the
Legend of Lan is like there's a mannequin in her alcove wearing Neelix's clothes. I just love the idea that they just go, oh well, Neelix will put this here. But yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh man! But back to the Borg sphere that now goes into the Borg hub, as I'll call it. There is a an actual name for it, but I think Tom Paris. I think
Tom Paris.
I think Tom
Paris.
I think Tom Paris.
That sounds like the maid from Tom and Jerry.
Yes, I think Tom Paris says the Borg thing. It goes into that. Seven wakes up. She realizes that she has been modified. The terms and conditions have been updated in her brain, and she's like, "Why? I didn't accept this. Please decline. Remove it."
Yeah.
The Borg Queen has been making certain modifications to Seven while she's been sleeping,
which is the mummy issues here. This is the whole gaslighting and the whole.
Yes.
This is what the Borg Queen's like, and I think it's this whole thing of. Sorry, Baron.
No, it's all right. I've got another quote.
Oh, go.
Okay.
We don't want another drone. We want you.
Very sales technique, isn't it?
It's very reassuring and makes her feel special because she says to Seven, like she's the, I think it's a scene actually where she basically goes, "You are special. You are the only Borg ever to return to a state of individuality." But it's that whole bigging them up only to then treat them like crap, effectively,
Because the ulterior motive's been revealed in this scene, though. Because why did they let her go back to Voyager?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, although then again, I disagree though. Like Hugh exists. Surely the Borg are aware that like Hugh and all of that stuff. The episode we previously did where Lore basically takes control of the Borg.
Yes, but Hugh is on the run.
But he's still returned to a state of individuality. Though.
Yes, but in Descent, when we did Descent Part 1 and 2, at the end, he did take the liberated Borg. So we don't know where he get. And obviously, they just didn't think of that. That's just
yeah. The Queen. Sorry.
I just don't think that they need to or want to tie any loose ends when it comes to the cube.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So for you guys watching, the ulterior motive that we are referring to is that the Borg let Seven return back to Voyager because they need her help to assimilate humanity. They want to understand the resistance that humanity has, and they believe that 7 of 9 becoming an individual can gain that valuable insight that the Borg can then use to assimilate humanity far more easier. Which it's like, okay. Now,
I think it's great though. The plan that she suggests is very similar to what we get in Picard, where it's the idea of assimilation as a virus rather than direct contact, and it's a really terrifying concept. The idea of just being like, yeah, we'll put nanoprobes into a virus, and then basically over generations we'll eventually own everyone, and you're like, okay, that's terrifying, and you should totally do that, and then they just don't.
Okay. Because in order to basically test the loyalty of 7, they set off to assimilate species 100026.
Middlesbrough.
Well, I mean, same population amount. That's kind of scary. Please do it. You'll enrich us no end. They don't need
I have a feeling that the Borg landing in Middlesbrough, they would just ignore them.
No signs of intelligent life. Okay. Pound shops and B&Ms.
No, it's pound shops, B&Ms, and
Greg's.
was it cash converters?
Greg's.
I'm sure there's like 5 of them in the city centre.
Yeah, probably.
The people in Borough don't need the biodampeners.
No, they don't.
They're like, nope, there's no life signs at all.
If anything, I'll be the one pushing them. So, So we go back to the Raven, another flashback, which it's been a while since we've seen the Raven up until this point of the episode. They are analysing a drone on the Raven. Again, nutcases.
Yep.
Where they go, oh, this one's from Unimatrix 1. Oh, this one knows the Queen.
Oh, it's a collectible.
Oh, it's a collectible, but he's out the box, so he needs to go back.
Yeah.
He needs to go back.
Oh, well.
So
we'll go on eBay.
And they're like, oh, he's about to wake up. Let's send him back. Cool. Maybe send him back just before, like, maybe half an hour before he wakes up, because you've got a kid.
Yeah, but we had it in the previous scene, though, where he's got the biodampener and she's like, oh, it's about to run out. And he's like, I've got a couple more minutes. And it's this like we said earlier, the blasé attitude. And yes, to give them credit, this is probably something that's built up due to them not having any accidents for 3 months and them getting cocky. But it's still, it's their fuck up.
What were you going to say, Baron?
Oh no, I was just quoting little Annika going, "Bye, drone."
Oh,
so
yes. Bye, murderous drone. Yeah, but there's a good quote from Chakotay after this, because they go back after this little scene. It's Janeway reviewing the logs in her quarters, and Chakotay comes in and they're discussing. And then Chakotay goes, as brilliant as they were, their failure was being overconfident. And then immediately Janeway goes, "We won't make that mistake." Do you not see what you just said?
Yeah, that's it. It's like, and then they just immediately do the same thing. They're just like, okay, we'll just be cocky on a Borg ship. And you're like, yeah, okay.
Because she mounts a rescue. She's going to take the Delta Flyer again. Delta Flyer in this little tiny shuttle bay. They've modified it with these biodampeners. The shield dampeners that they had on the Raven, with the biodampeners.
And this is exactly what I'm saying. That the whole point of the Borg is to get all of this knowledge, accumulate it, and then sort of remember it and use it to make themselves perfect. And then they literally just go, "Hey, we've totally encountered this technology before, but let's just no." You know, and obviously the Borg Queen does bring it up. She goes, "Ah, yes, we've seen this before," but you're like, why would you do, like, they didn't seem to get the biodampeners before. They didn't seem to get this.
But it wasn't from the Raven, was it? It was B'Elanna had some marquee tricks up her sleeve to shield the ship. So maybe they hadn't come across those marquee shield.
I think it was a remodulation of the idea. So every time they would adapt, they would, like they do with their phasers, they would remodulate the phaser for another frequency. So then they would then just disappear. I think that's what they were doing. So they, and again, the Borg Diamond arrives at this planet to assimilate the alien race. This, for me, was these few scenes.
Yeah, Diamond, another fucking shape ship. Like, it's literally the whole
geometry fetishists.
Yeah, it's just geometry Borg. Like, we have literally next gen. All we have is cubes, and then the film, it's like, oh, we've got a sphere, and then in this one, it's like it's fucking everything. You know, it's just like.
The Legend
diamonds.
of Lan has corrected us, because Middlesbrough is not a city, it is a town. Oh, I know, Lan. I know.
I love it. I live in Borough. I totally be assimilated for my extensive knowledge of useless information. It is very true. It is very true that some people would get assimilated in Middlesbrough, but
they would be the best maintenance drones and cleaner drones you will ever see. But yes. What was that, Baron?
Fingers.
Yeah, needle fingers. Yeah, heroin. So, so they arrive at the planet, and Seven begins studying, and the Queen challenges her, like, what is this race's strength and weaknesses? So the weaknesses is maneuverability in the ships. Their strength is their weapons can be they can penetrate the Borg shields. The Queen already knows what they need to do, but she challenges Seven. This is another test of loyalty for Seven. Seven goes, well, I think we should do this. And she's like, I thought the same thing. Done. And you're just like, okay, yeah.
Okay. And this is the scary thing, because obviously, like, the Borg don't seem like much of a threat in this episode. They feel very sort of dampened down, and it's the way it's posed. But it is this scene where it just goes, yes, that is how quickly they can just render all of your technology useless. Like, that's this idea, and because the episode's not framed in that way, but it does bring back the horror of the Borg from TNG, and just being like,
scenes are quite chilling.
Oh God, you know, like, wow, they are a nightmare.
It's quite chilling, because you hear them, because obviously Seven refuses. Well, no, doesn't refuse. She's apprehensive, so the Queen tells her to go and repair the shields. As she's doing it, she can hear the screams of the people. Let's be honest, harvested. Yeah. So you can hear the screams. She gets very apprehensive. She gets incredible anxiety. She starts to walk away. She can see all these people walking past. One of them starts to run, and Seven instinctively grabs hold of him.
Yeah.
And
she dooms that man.
Yeah.
She dooms that man. Like, and it's very powerful.
Yeah. To see because they proper double down on the injection for this one. He had both vaccines when it came to this assimilation, because they were like, oh, you ran away, double the amount of nanoprobes for you, Kevin, straight in the neck. But
Kevin the Borg.
But Gary the Ferengi.
Gary the Ferengi, Kevin the Borg.
Kevin the Borg. But Bill, but that instinctive, you can see that, you know, that the Borg part of her was instinctive in holding him. And then to sort of course correct, she goes into the simulation chamber, and we see great prosthetics with the arm cut off and the animated. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it was chilling in First Contact. That was the same thing that they used in First Contact for that. So a great reuse of a prop.
Yeah.
She sort of goes... I mean, they're in shock, because initially I thought they were assimilated, but no, they're in shock because they just sat there and they're just watching this man be dismembered and then assimilated bit by bit. And she's going, I am not a Borg, help me. She lets them escape. She helps them escape in a badly damaged ship. And then the Borg leave orbit, and you see the wreckage of all this. Essentially, a race has been made extinct. Although a race of 300,000 people with warp ships and stuff, and I was a little bit kind of small. Very small for a race, but okay.
Yeah. But then again, we don't know what they've been through. Maybe they've had some kind of massive war or something. Or maybe it is just a colony of them, you know?
So as the Borg leave orbit, the Queen detects the ship that's been overlooked. And the Queen challenges Seven again, another test of loyalty. How do you propose? Do we destroy? Do we assimilate? And the Queen, Seven goes, well, neither. Absolutely neither. They don't pose a threat. They you know, we have got what we have came here for. Ah, yes, but if they leave, the race will fear us. The race will hate us, and it's sort of it's an insight into the justification of why the Borg do what they do. Yes, there is the element of perfection and adding biological divergence to their own, but it's also, well, if people exist, they will fear us and they will come after us. And you're like, you are billions, if not trillions of people, and you are still scared of 4 people.
It's also the idea of the fact of, if their race survives, then there's a chance that they can be better than the Borg. There's a chance that they can be their individuality, and that they can go on to do stuff outside of the Borg that they can't do within the Borg. So I think it's this idea of stopping that entire thing, like, you know, stopping that potential is necessary, because you can't really say, hey, the Borg aren't perfect. I don't know if I phrased that right. But...
Baron, were you surprised that the Queen let them go?
I don't remember the first time I watched it. No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
I do like the quote after from Seven, though.
Does she let them go?
She lets them go. And
I thought she went, fuck it, no, we're taking them in.
But Borg said, sorry guys, Seven says to the Queen, I thought compassion was a human emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I really did like that, because the Queen knew, and the Queen pulled her up. She was like, I knew you let them escape. But she still... And again, I was quite surprised, because I thought the Queen would have destroyed them. Not assimilated, just flat out destroyed them, to prove a point that no one is safe. If they resist, they will be destroyed. But she let them go to show compassion, to show that the Borg are capable of this. We are not just... Sorry, go
but on. I think it was just another gaslighting technique. If she had let them go, like, completely, and not pulled them back before they got away anyway, I think that would have been just to go, oh, look, Seven, I'm listening to you. Look, I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
Aren't you?
Yeah.
Borg Queen.
I'm your mother now.
Hold on, have we passed the bit where they're talking about where they're assimilating humanity and they just randomly have a holographic hot guy?
No, that's after.
Is it later?
Yeah, that's afterwards. Yes.
I spent ages
I bet
pausing
you
it to
did.
take pictures of my thing just to be like, that's how you demonstrate a race. I would assimilate the fuck out of that. I'm just saying.
He had a mighty Barnet on his head. That's all I'm going to say for that model. It was mighty.
It wasn't quite Larry the Lurker. If Sammy's in, I don't know if Sammy's in the chat. Not as good as his Bouffon.
Bouffon. We go Sex Pest the musical. We go back to
This is me describing the movie The Wolfman. Baron.
Monsters Up North, guys. Watch it just for the Bouffon. We go back to the Delta Flyer where Janeway is still reading the logs from the Raven, and at this point in the Raven's life, it has been badly damaged by a particle storm where the shield system dropped for 13.2 seconds, which meant that the Borg detected them, and the Borg were like, we're coming for you.
Yeah,
so they're on a mad run. They make a shout out. They detect a Mutara class nebula. Shout out to the Wrath of Khan, because that was a Mutara class nebula. I thought I liked that. Magnus doesn't want to run, and we're like, what? But they eventually
he doesn't want to hide, but he's just illogical, basically, like as he's been throughout the entire thing.
Yeah. So they try and look for an M-class planet. Annika is naturally scared. She says she can't sleep. Magnus goes in, tries to reassure her, and he's like, oh no, everything's going to be fine. She's like, will it hurt being a drone? Everything's going to be fine. And I'm just like, dude, be a better parent.
Yeah. I mean, he's giving Worf a run for his money at this point.
He really is. Like, he like, when you watch it over and over, you're like, you are one of the most negligent parents in Star Trek. And we've got Worf.
Yeah. I think that's great, though, that, like, literally we have that, where we have Seven, who is an example of someone who has survived, like, having shit parents that aren't considerate. And I think that's, like, an important message there, where it's the idea of going, cool, you can start from the worst upbringing and you can bring it round by having the right people around you. Yeah. You know, like Janeway... Not the Borg Queen necessarily, but obviously the time in the Borg is part of Seven's life, and it made her good in some ways and bad in another ways. But I love it where it goes back to the ship after this, and it has the dog, because the Doctor's the one reading it, and he basically has the quote, most explorers don't take their 4-year-old daughter along for the ride. And you're like, yeah, pretty much that's the difference between like good scientists and these guys.
Yeah. 100%, because Janeway even says they should have quit while they were ahead.
Yeah.
And you're like, yes, thank you for recognizing these are the most negligent parents ever.
Yeah, they don't have a redeeming feature. Like, it's the idea of they put themselves in danger by being stupid, and that's a lesson in itself, I think, you know.
But the Doctor...
often is a bit like, oh, should we really be doing this? And then as soon as Magnus is like, yeah, let's do it, she's like, okay, yeah. Yeah, let's see that. Great, cool.
Exactly. The idea of just going, it's also her, because obviously we're talking about him being the problem, but like you're saying, it's also her for not being actually, fuck this shit, you know, like standing
not
up.
Not thinking of her daughter, shall we say. Because she's like, oh, there's a Borg drone. Okay, let's go for lunch. And you're like... What? Because the Doctor has an idea to modify the Comma Ray to access Seven's interplexing beacon in her head so that they could speak to her while she's on the Borg cube. Because they have found the cube. It's 200 light years away, but they are using quantum slipstream. They are hightailing it there. And then obviously, Janeway says that they should have quit while they were ahead. And really, you know, it baffles me that, yes, I mean, no wonder they burnt their bridges with the scientific community and most of Starfleet, because everyone must have said, are you completely and utterly stupid to take your daughter along with you? Are you completely and utterly stupid to go on an unarmed vessel to hunt a race that you don't know about, that we've heard rumours that assimilate people?
Well, exactly. It's like, like you say, it's imagine if one of your friends, like, if some of your friends that had a kid and they were just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go off and do like be a reporter in a war-torn country and I'm gonna bring my kids along with it. You would just be like, no, no, don't do that. Like you wouldn't. Yeah.
Baron, you were like this, and the negligent wild thornberries.
Well, kind of to an extent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like the wild thornberries weren't bringing the biggest predators onto the bus. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Oh no, 100%.
Nigel would have tried though. Nigel would have tried.
Smashing. So the next scene is everyone's favourite because we get birds. We get the bird because we get finally the Queen's plan, which we referenced earlier on, where she wants to detonate essentially a bomb in Earth's atmosphere to release nanoprobes that will assimilate all organic life on Earth. Now, I have a problem with this. There is more to the Federation than Earth. Because she's like, oh, well, before they realise what's happening, half of the population will be assimilated. And I'm like, dude, there is 160 odd planets in the Federation, plus colonies and everything.
But as we have in DS9, when Weyoun and Dukat, sorry, mental blank. When Weyoun and Dukat are talking about the tactical significance of Earth, it's that the Federation is really dependent on Earth. Like they put all of their stock in that. And so I think the Borg are very tactical, but tactically going, hey, if you get rid of Earth, you cripple the Federation, regardless of all the other races. Because we've lost Vulcan by this point, haven't we?
No, that was Vulcan was in the Kelvinverse. We never lost Vulcan.
Oh right,
we never lost. I think you're thinking of Romulus. But that's
Romulus, but
10 years down the line, yeah.
Don't we lose Vulcan in one of the stories or something?
No, that's just in Star Trek Online. Yeah.
It's fair enough. Well, I wasn't going there anyway. But it's it never appears on TripAdvisor. Everyone was boring as shit.
Is that an Enterprise reference? TripAdvisor. Sorry.
Yeah.
What's his Charles Tucker like?
Advise Trip. Speaking of wonderful butts, this hologram here, where they demonstrate humanity by just bringing up some buff guy in his undies that just spins around, and you're just like, yes, I'm listening to the plan.
It's lovely though, because you've got that really hot guy, and then you've got Seven, and you've got the Borg Queen. It's just a screen full of really hot people all at once.
Yeah, but did you notice that Seven doesn't do this? Seven does this, never does this. So props to 7 of 9 for being laser focused on what she was looking at, because anyone would be like,
yeah, hold on, wait till it comes round again.
Speed up the lazy Susan.
Speed up the lazy Susan. Yeah, it is. It's a great scene, to be fair. I absolutely love this. And obviously, like I said, it's similar to season 3 of Picard, and it's this idea of how terrifying the Borg are. That the whole thing of, we've seen other races trying stuff, like DS9 has the Breen directly attacking Earth, it has the Dominion directly attacking Earth. The idea is, what would it be like if the Borg actually properly assaulted Earth? The closest they get is First Contact, where they have a sphere that gets close enough. But the idea of the best thing about the Borg is that they are all the way over there, and that they never get a chance to do anything.
But this is, for Seven, this is the last test of loyalty that the Queen proposes, because Seven refuses. Seven absolutely refuses, and she doesn't want to assimilate humanity. Comply or be a drone is what the Queen says. That's the last ultimatum. And then she brings forward her dad.
Fucking dark, man.
And the I mean, again,
see, look, your dad agrees.
but props to the makeup, because to make him look so dead-eyed as well, like the glaze, because he's been a drone for decades, and the glaze in those eyes, like there's no, because she just, I mean, I love the fact that Seven goes, Papa. Like the child within immediately goes to that, and the drone just does nothing.
And obviously, if we think about it, how much work that was for the Borg Queen to get them there purely to be that manipulation tool. That is, that is so telling of how like
deep,
corrupted this relationship is. You know.
Yeah, because the Queen also then manipulates her and says, well, I remember Annika Hansen. I remember you. And I was like, oh, it's just so chilling. So chilling. But then that's when we hear Janeway's voice in her interplexing beacon, which immediately backfires because the Queen checks Seven's pa, as I referenced it in my notes, because she's just like, Janeway. And I'm loving the fact that all the villains now are just going, Janeway. She's got a reputation.
Why did he sound like the Claw from Inspector Gadget there? It's the Borg Queen, not like...
Wouldn't it be brilliant right at the end where the Queen is just floating and she'd just be like, I get you, Janeway. And just floats off into reality.
Janeway.
Yeah. I would love that. Why don't shows do that? Why don't shows just have villains escaping through broken windows anymore and then coming back next week?
Actually, have you ever seen a show? What's it called? It's called
Danger 5.
Danger 7.
Danger 5. Yes.
Have you seen it, Baron? There's a show called Danger 5, and it is amazing. It's an Australian show where they try to make it as shit and low budget as possible.
But don't mention anything because you will be banned.
Well, okay, but the villain in it is a famous villain from German history.
A very hyperactive Austrian.
Yes, with territory issues. But basically, every single episode, he escapes by jumping out a window in exactly the same clip. So basically, whenever he escapes at the end of an episode, it just shows a clip of him jumping through a window, even if the room they're in doesn't have that window or anything.
Yeah.
That's how he escapes every episode.
Guys, honestly, I implore you, after this episode, search Danger 5, watch it, but for the love of all that is holy in the prophets, do not, under any circumstances, post pictures from it or reference certain characters, because I guarantee you, from experience, you will be banned off Facebook for a week minimum.
Really?
I posted on the Nerdy Up North, Agent FBI. I posted that image, and then within 13 seconds, Facebook were like, "Hi, Michael. Enjoy 7 days of doing nothing."
I keep forgetting he keeps coming back with different jobs.
Yeah.
There's an episode, Baron, where he tries to infiltrate a high school by pretending to be a teenager. Yeah. But it's
with facial.
Yeah, like he's literally it's that, but wearing teenage clothes. It is so funny.
Or when they're trying to infiltrate a base, a certain party's base, and there's an Alsatian, and they go, "Leave this with me," and they have their own female Alsatian that seduces the male Alsatian, where the Alsatian in German goes, "Got a light, handsome." This is the level of WTF-ery that this brings.
We're missing out the fact that it's not even trying to be a proper Alsatian. It's literally like a toy dog.
With a
it's
smoke
like a toy
machine.
dog just being like...
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a comedic take filmed in a 60s style where everyone smokes and...
It's so good.
And jumps out of a window. There was only 2 seasons, but please, guys, please watch it because... Mwah, chef's kiss.
Brilliant.
Anyway,
sorry,
good God, the tangents, the divergence.
That was a segue and a half.
The dark frontiers in which we voyage, is.
I'm going.
No, come back with the velour, please. This is why you're the science officer. You don't have a rank. You are the science officer because you are the alien race that has to wear velour because it is part of your culture.
I think as we've seen in Trek, I think the only person who can get away with being as shit and like not following the rules whatsoever is basically being a science officer. We have Bashir being like, oh, I'll do whatever. You have McCoy being like, oh, I killed everyone. You have Beverly being like, well, candle slag. You have like, what is it? Hashtag candle slag. And also just being like, oh, well, maybe. Pulaski, I'm a stan of Pulaski, I will say that.
Yes,
but yeah, and obviously the Doctor in Voyager, who is just the biggest, like, hey, you know, like, fuck everything. He's amazing.
Yeah, but so again, getting back, this is the standoff scene. This is the climax of the feature-length episode. The Queen is searching for Janeway and the Flyer. Queen is searching. The modified shields is working. When it doesn't work, they remodulate. They disappear. The Queen then bluffs to Seven to say, "We have found them. We have brought them in. They are assimilated." And the Queen and Seven just goes, "Yeah, nah, I would have heard them by now." And I love that. I love that. Then Tuvok on the Flyer locates 7 of 9 on a heavily shielded part of the chamber. They go after 7. Janeway... I mean, 7's resisting all the way through this. Janeway arrives with the Tweezer Tommy gun. You know, it's a culmination of all the mams. Well, 2 mams and a dad and a pizza place in this one scene. And the one last ultimatum is given where it's basically... Oh, was it the ultimatum? I'm trying to... that's right. So Janeway gives the Queen an ultimatum to basically say, let 7 go or I will torpedo the ever-loving bastard out of everyone and myself. Yeah. And the Queen goes, you won't do that. And it's like, dude, have you ever met Janeway? She is like the Riggs of Star Trek Voyager. She is the lethal weapon in Starfleet's arsenal.
She's literally just waiting for an excuse. She's just like, give me a reason to kill everyone on Voyager. I've been trying to do it for 5 seasons.
I will kill everyone and myself because it is a Tuesday and the coffee is shit. That is...
To quote Castlevania, it's like the longest suicide note in history.
7 years. Good God. It's but yeah, so the Queen relinquishes control of the Flyer, but then modifies... Does she modify something where they can't beam out?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 7 basically says, well, if you take out the thing above her, she will lose all control of the hive and then we can beam out. And I'm a bit like, at this point, I'm like, well, she's got hundreds of drones around her. Why doesn't anyone go for Janeway? You know, these can adapt pretty quickly.
Also, why doesn't Janeway just shoot her? Like, I always wonder this, where it's like, surely the first thing you do is go, I've got 1 shot until they adapt. Shoot her in the head. You know, I kind of...
But Janeway's also already
I was talking about this. I was talking about this earlier with a friend, where it's the idea of, I love it where you get scenes in games where people react the way they would, where it's like, oh, it's the villain, let's just try shooting him, you know. And when you get that, and obviously they're like, oh, I have a shield or something, or oh, you missed, kind of thing. But I'd love the idea if Janeway just came in and she was like, right, shoot her in the head and then grab 7.
It's but you can't good entertaining monologues if you just shoot someone in the head.
But even if she just shot and then it was adapted, it was heavily shielded, that would have been fine, because that would have been the Indiana Jones moment that we expect from Janeway, where the Queen's like, I've got a really diverse monologue, and Janeway's just...
Yeah, and then it turns out that the Borg Queen has a shield. That would be Janeway ultimate badass if she did that, you know.
Yeah. So Janeway shoots the node. They escape in the Flyer. The Diamond in hot pursuit, a sentence I'd never thought I would ever conceptualize and say.
Sounds like a drug reference.
Yeah, well, yeah, it does. But they hightail it out of there. The Flyer gets to Voyager. Chakotay, you know, there was a wise... Shut up!
Shut up, Chakotay.
Yorkshire.
You're from Ashington.
Yorkshire, Chakotay. So they detect a rift in subspace opening up. They detect the transwarp. The Flyer comes out. Chakotay's like, Captain, are you all right? She's just like, shoot the hole! So he absolutely pummels the transwarp conduit, and that's it. It collapses, and you think, okay, that's the end of it. There's a little bit of exposition. Are you all right? Is everyone all right? Yes, blah, 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 blah. And then it reopens, and you just see debris.
Yeah.
You just see debris. I would have loved, and I know it probably would have blown the budget. I would have loved, it's going to be so cliche as well. I would have loved just to have seen a floating queen with her eyes open, but a blink. Or a thing of data being transmitted or something, like a signal being transmitted or something. I don't know why. I know it's cliche as fuck. I do apologise. But I would have loved that. But we know there are many other queens.
I think, though, it's the idea of this way it kind of goes, did she die? Like, it's that whole thing of, oh, maybe she beamed out before. It keeps it there. But one thing we do know is it does mean that Annika's dad is dead. As in that drone. Well, yeah, they beamed him out, but
no, correct.
He died. He died doing what he loved, being a shit parent.
Yeah, being dead-eyed. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Did Annika's mother survive, or did she die when the Raven crashed?
I think she probably survived, but anything can happen over a course of time. I think it's this idea of. I wonder if maybe the Borg Queen kept the dad around as collateral, but didn't really make much of a fuss about the other, because why do you need both? Like, if you need one to prove a point, surely you just be like, oh well, fuck it, it's just a drone. That's the whole thing about the Borg.
Potentially, yeah. I just think, forget if you are watching this later on recorded, guys, please leave a comment below if I have missed that. I can't remember after this episode, and obviously the one where they do find the Raven, anything else being mentioned about the mother either being assimilated or dead or was blown up or whatever.
I like the idea that actually she died trying to protect Annika in this last sort of, this last kind of, oh shit, this is what I should have been doing the whole time.
Was the Raven?
I like the idea of that.
Was the Raven, when they located the wreckage, was it before or after this?
I can't remember. I can't even remember that episode. I don't remember them finding the
episode, but it probably didn't.
I'm pretty sure it was before, because there was an issue where she was hearing voices, wasn't she? And she was drawn to the Raven, but it was a Borg transmitter.
Yeah.
That was in the
is
wreckage.
that where she has the records from?
But yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay.
The science officer has earned his velour pay of the week. We have clarified that it was before.
10 strips of gold-pressed latinum.
Yes. But quite importantly, they did steal the transwarp coil. They did get a good 20,000 light years out of it, which is cut 15 years out of their journey, which, yay, props to them before giving out.
Yeah.
And then we do.
They should have stocked up on them, though. They should have gone like, hey, let's get 10 more, sort of warp coils,
Yeah. But we do get this lovely final mothering scene where the message is Janeway is the winner of the Mama battle. She is the big Mama. She is the one not to be messed with. And I love that it's... The Borg believes Seven was unique and that she understood humanity, but they were mistaken. And it's a really lovely, it's a really touching scene, and I love that Janeway just goes, right, bed, madam.
Yes.
But I'm not tired. Bed, that's an order. And she tucks her into bed as well. Metaphorically, obviously, but she tucks her into bed.
Sorry, it mirrors the moment with the Borg Queen making her go to sleep earlier on as well.
Yeah, it really does. And I think, considering Kate Mulgrew and Jerry Ryan's relationship was frosty at best when they first started, I think both off camera and on camera we see that gelling and that deepening of that relationship.
See, I'm not sure, because I think they were still pretty, not getting on, but that's acting.
Up to season 5.
It's I don't know, like I don't, because isn't it something like with Harry Kim, the actor who plays Harry Kim? It's like, didn't it last quite a while? But I think it's this idea of with actors, you don't need to get on with the person that you're working with. It's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where you
Oh
realize that
God.
all of the drama happening behind the scenes there, and none of it comes up on the actual episodes. And you would think that these people were best friends, and
Yeah.
then obviously behind the scenes, you're like, oh, everyone hated everyone. Okay,
But
Hashtag.
overall, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But
Overall,
but the thing is, though, we've been sorry, before we go into the
mhm,
thing, we've been talking about the Borg Queen and Janeway in regards to Seven being a parent figure.
yeah.
I think what we need to discuss is the parallels between Janeway and the Borg Queen. Like the fact of going, these are two people who are meant to be vicious enemies, and yet you're looking at them being like, hang on. So one of you is like a totalitarian ruler who basically always knows best, always like sort of makes everyone follow their rule. And the other is the Borg Queen.
There we go.
Yes, fully telegraphed there. But I think that's something that we're not really discussing, and I think it's important.
It's yeah, but this harkens back to how Janeway matured into a very morally ambiguous character, and the fact that yes, Janeway has done really shitty things, and to essentially pull someone else up on their shitty things, it's sort of like pot calling kettle black.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But in terms of who is the least shittiest morally, Janeway ekes out, because at least Janeway has not committed multiple counts of genocide at this point.
At this
Well, if we're
point.
gonna count, it just counts as one. Okay, we're gonna Lord of the Rings this. It's like that was just one planet, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, like I said, they are two alpha females. They are two really strong leaders in their own right, and it's sort of this all boils down to who loves Seven the most and who is the better mother. And that's all it boils. I mean, an alien race has to be nearly made extinct in order for this.
Well, you can't make an omelet without breaking a couple of eggs.
Yes,
And by
this is-
eggs, I mean about 300,000.
that is a big omelette.
It's a lot of omelet. I will burn it.
But I had this conversation with my wife the other day after I finished rewatching it, and I was like, it is like you've got to make the choice between who was right in this episode, and I think Janeway does win in that because she's not space.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's
Imagine if the Borg Queen jumped out a window at the end of this scene.
I insisted
Oh,
on
that'd
it.
be amazing. He's just jumping out.
I think if any feedback for Brandon Braga, who helped write this episode, jumping out of a window, even though there is no windows on a cube, a window pane there would. I'll get you next time, Janeway. No, you won't.
No, but it's really good to like hear your thoughts on it, Baron. Like, because it is
Yes.
such a fascinating character study, and how good the actresses are in this. Like, it's this thing of like Voyager, where it's like Trek is made by having so many amazing actors in it. Like, obviously DS9, I'll gush about it forever, but in this one, you're like, fucking 7 of 9. Like, Tuvok is amazing in the last episode that we did, and like 7 of 9, Janeway, the Doctor. It's just a tour de force, and the Borg Queen, like. It's just
she is for Susanna Thompson to step into rather big PVC booties. It was a hell of a. I mean, Alice Creed couldn't do it because there was a conflict. So they went to essentially their silver medal, for want of a better term, but she nailed it.
Worked with Janeway, didn't it? Because Janeway was
did
Catherine was the she was the second choice. No,
Kate Mulgrew was the second
Kate
choice.
Mulgrew, sorry,
yes,
was the second choice.
Yeah, but it's a testament to Susanna Thompson's acting ability in this episode that she could pull it off and absolutely hit the nail on the head when it comes to portraying Creed's queen and do it in her own way. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Overall, the episode, fantastic episode for the wheel to choose, I thought. A good double feature or feature length, depending on your territory. Overall, absolutely loved it. What did you guys think?
One of my favourites. That, along with Species 8472, is one of my favourite episodes of Voyager.
Synoiz?
Yeah, the same. Like, I did not know which one it was, because obviously I remember when I was telling Baron, like, oh, this is the episode, and I just said it was a totally different one, and he started watching the one with Species 8472, and I was like, oh, hang on, no, totally wrong one. And I'd totally forgotten this episode existed, and then it's so core, it's so like essential for Voyager, because it's like 7 and 9's background and this idea of how, you know, it's her backstory. But I think this has everything I love about Trek in it. And I think it's a cheesy episode. I think it's one of these ones, like, for all I complain about, where I just go, why do they do that? Why do they make that decision? Why does that work? But it is television, and we get a very good episode out of it. And we have all of the tropes we love. Like, we have the Borg. Like I said, the ship is exactly what we want from the Borg. The Borg themselves are amazing. They're not scary anymore, but the Queen is done to perfection. And I never realized this until this episode. And then I watched other ones, and they do the same thing. How the Borg Queen is always followed by a green spotlight. And then it has scenes, and it's so iconic, where it just has scenes where she's standing there and it has the 2 spotlights. And I love that someone's job on set was to follow the Borg Queen with a green spotlight. And it reminds me of, like, you know, the old movies and in the Addams Family movies in the 90s, where for Morticia, they gave her the beam across the eyes, like they did with Bela Lugosi and stuff. It's that level of cinema amazingness, you know.
I absolutely love Bela Lugosi. One of the, I know it's not what he said, but it's always been one of the tropes where it's like, "No, I'm Bela Lugosi," you know, and it's like, because he made some corkers of movies, but he made some trash, and one of them was The Phantom Creep. And I just never forget it. There's like Mystery Science Theater 3000 always used to impersonate Bela Lugosi, and one of the quotes that they had was, because obviously he made schlock. It was the era where Hollywood was just a conveyor belt of movies. You'd finish one, you do another 700. And it's like, there were so many inconsistencies, and he's just like, I don't care. I say, shoot the movie, let God sort it out. And I'm just like, yeah. That was generally most B movies in the 40s and 50s, where it was just like, it's schlock, we'll fix it in post. So, but anyway, guys, it is now time.
Are we having a transmission, love? Are we getting
No.
the transmission in? Oh, God.
Because we do have another incoming transmission.
Incoming transmission.
It's under the table.
And then we go back to this scene, because I do have some breaking news. Because next week, Treks and Trekkers, Nerdy Up Northers, and all viewers of this fine channel, Mark Cartier of the Shuttlepod Show will be a guest as Star Trekking with Nerdy Up North. We will be discussing all things Star Trek, all things podcasting.
Poor bastard.
The poor bastard. We'll be discussing all things Star Trek, all things Shuttlepod Show, all things Battlestar Galactica with Mark. I am slightly hot with anticipation, moist, because Mark is an absolutely lovely chap, and I can't believe that he watches us still. But we are the USS Adequate. We are the USS Adequate.
I just love that he joins the podcast, and it's always when I'm on this insane rant about Keiko O'Brien or like Naomi Wildman, and I'm just like, this couldn't have been timed better. I'm a professional.
At least he didn't stay around for you referencing Trip Tucker's arse, because he probably would have texted him and said, "Guess what?
Text him. Give him my address." That's.
But yes, guys, so next week we will be talking with the wonderful Mark. However, the week after, I think we do have another incoming transmission.
Incoming transmission.
And
Let
we're
us
back
spin
to the
the
double
double wheel of
Oh
Trek.
my god, guys, the double wheel has been perfectly framed. Has it been perfectly framed? No, it hasn't. Yes, it has. No, it has. We're on the live, we're on the fly. We're doing it Voyager style. The morality is grey. We're airlocking people. We don't care anymore. This is season 3 of Enterprise. The button has been undone. We are going nuts. Why am I still talking? Anyway, the double wheel of episodes. If you are a first-time chatter, first-time watcher, first-time lurker of Star Trekking with Nerdy Up North.
Not Larry the Lurker, though.
Larry the Lurker or
Sammy's
Gary, Larry or Gary the Ferengi. Gary and Larry, both brothers in Ferengis. The double wheel of episodes has 400 plus Star Trek episodes, shall we say?
It has everything that isn't Discovery or Kelvin. It doesn't have Kelvin timeline in, and I think it has everything else in there, though. I think
so. Everything pre,
including the movies.
Yeah, everything pre 2009, shall we say? So it doesn't have the Kelvin verse, and right, that's fine. So everything pre 2009 is programmed into the double wheel of episodes.
Sounds like my music taste, Christ.
And what I do, as the captain of the USS Adequate, the barely functioning wheel, because the Adequate is falling apart around me, spins. At the end of the spin, we all yell Dabo, and whatever episode it lands on, we will review it in the next review episode. This, guys, will be our last random view episode for a while, because me and Science Officer Synoiz and all the other guests that are going to come back, because Baron's coming back, whether they like it or not, we have locked onto your transport pattern. You will be remaining in the buffer until any notice. So
all of the chat just being like code of honor.
Code of honor.
Fingers crossed for code of honor.
Hashtag candle slag. The Sub Rosa, I'm telling you. So this will be our last random review. So for one final time, for the next 2.5 months, shall we get spinning? Let me have a look.
Should have fixed it so it lands on code of honor.
Don't
Hindsight.
you fucking dare. Here we go, guys. I'm going to spin now. Oh my god, the anxiety. Oh. Double!
What have we got?
In 2 weeks' time, me and Science Officer Synoiz will be reviewing Star Trek The Next Generation episode, Captain's Holiday.
On the one on Riser?
The one on Riser. Ladies
This is
and
great. We have Ferengi in it. We have, what's her name? She's amazing, and she's only in like 3 episodes.
she's on DS9 as well.
Yeah, she's in DS9. She is an amazing character.
I will
It's
get
like-
the synopsis up for you guys, because
Yeah.
I know you guys like a good synopsis.
Baron, do you know the character we're talking about? Where it's the she's
don't
like
remember.
she's basically like a thief, but she's just a really great character. She's like a thief from D&D.
It
Like-
is. I will get you the name. It is Vash or Vash.
Yes.
depending
Vash.
on
I
it. Vash,
remember
yes.
Vash.
So the synopsis is quite short.
I'm dressed for Riser, actually. That's quite nice.
Oh, shall I get a Hawaiian shirt for this one?
Yeah. Oh, we can do it. Yeah, we do it in Hawaiian shirts, man.
Oh yes, right. So
I got my mum to bring me. My mum just came back from a rock festival in Ibiza, and I said, "You need to buy me the worst shirt you can possibly find." Oh, she did. She did me proud. She brought back the worst piece of tat that has ever been created. So I will be wearing
I
that
can't
for
wait for
this.
So the synopsis for this episode. Picard takes a much-needed vacation on a riser, but unwelcome events keep interfering with his rest. This is also, I believe, the 50 Shades of Earl Grey meme, where this comes from, because he does the deepest of V's. So we see all of Picard. We see his vast Mutara Nebula on his chest. Don't give me that look.
It's one of these things where I'm like, no, Picard isn't sexy. I can't see it, and it's
How very
not my type. Not my
dare
type.
you? How very dare you?
But
I will.
Daddy,
I'm going to get you.
Daddy.
I'm going to get you a Ryzen fertility statue as punishment. I'm going to make you as horny as possible.
Oh my.
Oh my. Oh my god, let's go back to that screen. There we go. Guys, Treks and Trekkers, this has been our review of Star Trek Voyager's Dark Frontier. This has been the longest episode we have done. Holy 2 hours and 15 minutes. That is unbelievable.
Wow.
I would like...
Thank you for sticking around for this, Baron.
Yes, thank you. I would absolutely like to thank Baron. I hope you have had so much fun, and I hope you've enjoyed it.
I've had a really lovely time, and I'm really pleased that I was asked to come on for Voyager, of course.
Oh, you shall be coming on, and you shall be coming on again. I insist upon it. You will remain in the buffer until time arises that you shall be summoned.
What, like Scotty?
Scotty, yes, everyone remains in the buffer.
Sticking in a buffer for like 100 years.
Look, the mission statement of the USS Adequate is... I forgot it. I forgot it. I forgot it. To seek out new guests and make them uncomfortable. So, yes, I am living by the mission statement, okay? To boldly go where many YouTube shows have gone before.
Uncomfortable emotionally, no, but I do need a wee, so...
There we go.
Good. Hour 3. So, guys... Thank you so much for everyone who has been in the live chat. We absolutely love each and every one of you. Thank you to everyone who watches this, whether you are live or recorded. Every single view makes a difference. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to Nerdy Up North. Like this video. Every tiny bit that you do helps the algorithm and helps us get out there to all the people. Yes,
also, follow Baron. Like, Baron, what are your socials? Where would you like people to follow you? Like TikTok, Instagram?
TikTok and Instagram. So it's at Baron LaVey Drag on Instagram and at Baron LaVey on TikTok.
Yeah, do that. You won't be disappointed because, like I say, Baron is one of the best drag performers I've had the honor of working with. And they're amazing on TikTok, even though I can't stand the platform. even though I get really confused, I'm like, oh, what shit is it giving me? Oh, it's a Baron one. I'll watch it.
And they are wonderful Star Trek cosplayers because they look absolutely beautiful. It has been an honor to have you on this episode of Star Trekkin. Guys, please follow The Velvet Snatch and all the links which are below in our description. If you enjoyed the cover of Star Trek Voyager that our wonderful... Should we call them the in-house band of Nerdy Up North? Adam? Should we call him that? When we have a live show, should we just
Adam, you can call me anything you want.
Oh no, he started again. Hang on. Someone get a hypo spray. Someone just... calm him down.
Fetch the Ryzen.
Deharmonize. Yes. Someone take it away. You can catch all of Adam's work on the links in the description below. Nerdy Up North, we are obviously on YouTube. We have a fantastic Facebook community. We have a Facebook page. You can also catch us on Twitch. Discord, we have a Discord. Good grief. It's never ending on the Discord. So many wonderful people on there. We have Twitter. We have... did I mention the tick and the talk? Did I mention the tick on the talk? I don't think I did. We've got the tick and the talk. We've got Instagram. We will have MySpace shortly because when society collapses, Tom will rise again and we will be able to have custom MP3 themes and sparkly curses yet again. It will rise again.
Did you see that someone suggested, oh, Twitter would be so much better if I could put my music auto-playing when someone comes to my page? And it's like, oh, God, we don't learn from the mistakes of the past.
We've come full circle. It'll be Bebo next. Nerdy Up North will be on Bebo. I did a wonderful interview today with the Queen of Nerdy Up North, Sammy, for the BBC. So you are looking...
That stands for British Broadcasting Company, doesn't it?
It stands for British Broadcasting Castration if you pay a licence fee. And there goes the BBC. So me and Sammy did an interview for BBC Radio Newcastle. So look out for that if you are local. This Sunday, it is the standard podcast, the wonderful live podcast, Sunday, 7:30 p.m. UK time. Top 5 comic book heroes. We've obviously got Monsters Up North on Monday, 7 p.m. UK time.
With me on it! Ha ha!
Ah! He never sleeps, he just regenerates via a USB-C. That's what we are believing. That is now canon because I said it on the BBC. They were like,
It's a micro USB. It's a micro USB. I'm not going to...
They were like, talk to us about Graeme. And we were like, he doesn't sleep, he just regenerates via USB-C. So... yeah, he absolutely, he's the hardest working person in the northeast of England. God loves Synoiz. God love the science officer. But anyway, guys, we are going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for everyone who watched. We love each and every one of you. We will see you next week. But until then, live long and prosper. Stay safe. Love everyone. Fuck bigotry. Love Star Trek. Bye-bye.
Miles? Miles?